Hello, Bio 2600. My name is Andrew England, and today we are going to be talking about ulcerative colitis. Now, ulcerative colitis is a form of inflammatory bowel disease, and I chose to give a presentation on ulcerative colitis because it reflects cellular biology very well, and we should all recognize some of the pathways that we're going to talk about. But first, we're going to talk about who has it, where it's really prevalent, when people get it, and really exactly what it is. So, to start, who has inflammatory bowel disease? Now, if we look at the chart on the left, we see that it's very prevalent in European, Caucasian, and Jewish populations. Not so much in African American and Hispanic, but it's still there. And it's about split even between males and females, 50%, or about 50% males get it, about 50% females get ulcerative colitis. And we can sort of see this in this map of the United States here, uh, in places where there's heavy white and Jewish populations, like the Midwest and the eastern side of the United States. In Florida, we have a high um, percentage of ulcerative colitis. But in places like the South, we have a lower, and Texas, we have a lower percentage of ulcerative colitis because there's higher African American and Hispanic populations there. We can also see this globally, this same trend in places like the United States, Northern Europe, Australia. We have high ulcerative colitis. But if we look at Asia, Brazil, um, South America, really, it there's very few cases of ulcerative colitis. Now, here at this graph, we can sort of talk about when we get ulcerative colitis. And as we can see, it starts very low when we're young, and then it goes really high in our mid to late 20s. But then we sort of go into remission for a while, and it peaks again. So really, ulcerative colitis, it's not something where you have it at one point in your life and you have it all throughout your life. It sort of goes up and down as you age. So now, here we're going to talk about really what ulcerative colitis is. And simply put, it's your colon being inflamed. Now, what causes this is the mucus in our cell lining that coats our gut, our colon, is not really functioning like it should be. Now, the main reason that the mucus is there is to protect. Now, on the left side, that we can see bacteria in our gut, and on the right. But this gut bacteria should be there, as we know from pretty much every bio class we've ever taken. Uh, we have good bacteria in our colon that help us digest food. Now, as I said, on the left, we have healthy gut with a thick layer of mucus and no immune response. Now, on the right, we can see that for some reason, which we'll talk about later, the bacteria are triggering an immune response. And we should recognize a couple of the things in the immune response, like neutrophils. So now let's talk about why this immune response is sort of triggered. Well, firstly, we can look on the left. It shows us the structure a uh, of a mucus protein, and really it's a protein with a lot of monosaccharides attached to it. Uh, we could see fucose, galactose, but the main one that we're going to focus on is fucose. That's the small triangle. Now, this other picture, it just sort of shows us the pathway that fucose takes. Uh, Calcium helps regulate it, and then it attaches to snare proteins, and it causes it to fuse through the layer. Now, because of this fucose sugar that we talked about, in patients with ulcerative colitis, that fucose sugar is not present. And this pretty much causes a thin or pretty much no mucus on the gut lining, meaning that it can't protect against the healthy bacteria in our gut. So they're coming in contact or they're very close to the epithelial lining. And this is triggering that immune response, which is causing all the inflammation. So this is the same picture that we talked about. Uh, the immune response, pretty much, just to recap, is caused by a lack of protection in the mucose due to the fucose sugar not being added to the mucus. And because of this lack of fucosylation, Neutrophils in the immune response cause inflammation, uh, when really the inflammation isn't needed because what's being attacked is the good bacteria in our gut. So now we're going to talk about the symptoms. How does this really affect people? Well, a couple of common symptoms are ulcers and sores, stomach pain, and frequent diarrhea, and which is all caused by the um, inflammation in our gut. And it can even cause in some patients anemia, loss of appetite, weight loss, nausea, fever, fatigue, and even delayed development. So there's a lot of issues that can come along with having an inflamed colon. Now here, this sort of shows what the inflammation looks like inside the colon. On the left, we can see a very little inflammation, pretty much none, in an endoscopy. So this patient, if they have ulcerative colitis, it's not very prevalent. Now to the right, we can see very little inflammation, not much, but it's still there. And then mild to or moderate to severe, um, it it's very bad. These are very bad cases of ulcerative colitis, and those symptoms are very prevalent. Now, because of all of this inflammation in the colon, uh, colorectal cancer actually becomes a very high risk. Now, as we talked about in class, cancer is caused by mutations in the DNA due to stress on the cell. Uh, and in this case, the constant inflammation that the that the cells are being exposed to are causing these mutations. And on the left, we can sort of just see where the colon could be present, and on the right, we can sort of see how the cancer can invade the colon all throughout the body. So now we're going to talk about diagnosis, and it's pretty simple. So the main way that it's really diagnosed is through an endoscopy or a colonoscopy, and simply it's a camera is inserted into the rectum, and then using a camera and a light, they can take pictures and see inside and try to find the inflammation. So we'll talk about what causes ulcerative colitis. Now, ulcerative colitis is definitely our diet plays a big role in causing ulcerative colitis. Uh, it's not the direct cause, but it does play a huge role, and we'll talk about why now. Um, Ulcerative colitis is caused by genes that are not that are mutated or are deficient in the person. And all of these that are listed can cause problems with the epithelial layer of the colon. And one of them, as it says, it can be immune related deficiency. It can be glycosylation or fucosylation related. It could be even be a problem with the snare proteins. But all of these are pretty much causing mucus to not be produced enough or not being produced properly. Uh, and as I mentioned in the slide before, eating all these ultra processed foods and having a poor diet can activate or cause problems with these lack of genes and cause inflammation in the colon. So this is just a quick refresher on inheritance because this is related with our genes. As we learned from Dr. Biswas and from a lot of other classes, genes, they're located on the chromosomes, they're encoded by the DNA. And pretty much what this picture is just showing is that we do inherit these genes from our mother and our father. So now we're going to talk about sort of the treatment for ulcerative colitis and what the future of it is. So, unfortunately, there is no cure for ulcerative colitis at this time. However, it can be treated and managed. Uh, the drugs can be given that reduce the immune response to the gut and inflammation, but there's not really they can't really solve the mucus not being produced properly. For very severe cases, a liquid diet can be used, which can help reduce the inflammation uh, by not feeding the bacteria. But this is only a temporary measure until the inflammation goes down. Finally, in very severe cases, colectomy, sorry, which is a surgery or part of the colon is removed where there's severe ulcerative colitis. So now we'll talk about the future of ulcerative colitis. And uh, gene therapy like CRISPR and other methods could possibly change the way we treat and really eliminate ulcerative colitis from the population. Since ulcerative colitis is inherited disorder, in the future we could use CRISPR to remove these genes or alter them enough and replace the defective genes. Uh, Now the issue is with CRISPR is there's still a lot we do not know about it, and many problems can be caused by not using CRISPR properly. So just to recap, ulcerative colitis is caused by an improper immune response, and we all have bacteria in our gut, but due to the improper fucose binding, which is the sugar, to the protein, it causes our mucus or it causes our bacteria to come in very close contact with the epithelial line, triggering an immune response and inflammation. If you want to learn more about ulcerative colitis, these are all of the link sources I used. And I'd just like to thank Dr. Beeswas and you all for listening. Thank you.